Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
Positronic hypersonic.
Positronic hypersonic.
I'm Barry Peacock, and I'm here to give you a review of Snow White, Disney's latest live-action remake of one of their old classic films, which they can't seem to stop making. Now, unless you've been living under a rock for a couple years, you know that there's a lot of controversy surrounding this film because, first of all, people don't like that they cast an actress who's not 100% Lily frickin' White in the lead role, which is stupid. And because people are mad that she made some sort of pro-feminism comments that kind of came off like a put down of the original film, wherein she talked about how this version of Snow White is about Snow White's journey and not so much about her romance with a man. And so people, thought that it was an example of her being, toxic with toxic femininity, I guess, or, that it was a put down of men or traditional, male-female relationships, and that she's, woke, and that the movie was going to be woke. And so there was that. And then there was controversy about the dwarves, whether they were or weren't going to be played by actual little people, with, different factions within the little people community taking different positions when it turned out that they did the dwarves CGI style. And then on top of that, there was controversy about, the dwarves look grotesque. And so there's been a lot of bad press surrounding this movie, and it's not doing well in its first week. And, the usual suspects are poo-pooing it, I think, just for the sake of poo-pooing it, because they don't like Rachel Zegler, they don't like her politics. And, they're celebrating the fact that it's not doing well, which, I just think is ridiculous, which is why I wanted to see it. And for my own opinion, novel concept, right? Just see the movie for yourself and form your own opinion of the movie based on the movie. But that's what I did, and I wanted to do this video. It's not going to be terribly long. I know I'm kind of blathering as it is, but I wanted to acknowledge the controversy up front. And like I said, unless you've been living under a rock, you already know all this stuff. But for those of you who have been living under a rock, you're up to speed now. So I went ahead and saw it, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on the film, in an apolitical way that has nothing to do with the politics one way or another of the lead actress, or for that matter, Gal Gadot, who is controversial in her own right because she's Israeli and very pro-Israel. And it's going to be a review with no comparison whatsoever to the classic animated Snow White, which I don't think I've ever seen. If I did, I was very young and I don't remember it. I've seen clips, of course. I remember the storybook. But this is not a review that's going to compare it in any way, positively or negatively, to the classic film, which is something that I always urge people to do when they're reviewing a remake of a film, whether it's a prior live action film that's being remade or an animated film that's being remade. Don't compare it to the. You're setting yourself up for a negative review. There's just no way to do that in a way that's not going to leave your review or your experience, I should say, wanting. So that's what this video is going to be. I'm obviously not going to break down the plot. We all know the plot of Snow White and her confrontation with the evil queen. This movie did one thing a little differently than the classic one that I think is worth noting. They did a couple different things, but one of the ones that's worth noting is they didn't make the lead actor a prince. He's just a regular guy. In fact, he's a bandit. And so her love interest in the story is not this princely, high up guy that you're used to. He's just a regular guy. So I thought that was interesting. But other than that, the story is pretty much the same. They changed a couple of details. Obviously, some of the songs are new, but there's no need to break down the plot. You know how it goes, right? So it's going to be a very short video. I'm just going to tell you that I really enjoyed watching this film. I think Rachel Zegler is fantastic in the role of Snow White. She sings really well. Her acting is fantastic. Her look is fantastic. Her mannerisms are perfect, for Snow White. She just does a really great job. I think she's a really great Snow White, and I enjoyed her performance quite a bit. Gal Gadot, I think, did a competent job. I don't think this was her best role. I don't necessarily think she was well cast in this. She has, an Israeli accent, I guess, you could call it. And it works for a character like Wonder Woman that's supposed to be exotic and from an exotic island, but I don't think it works for a character that's not supposed to be that. And so it was just a little weird hearing the evil queen speak with that accent. It's not pervasive, but it's there. And it comes through a little bit when she sings, which she did a good job of, actually. I didn't know Gal Gadot could sing, but she can. She was competent as a singer in this. So I liked their performances, and I thought that it really was kind of magical all the way through, you know, the way you want a Snow White film to be. The look of the film was excellent. The creatures that they had, you know, bunnies and deer and chipmunks or whatever else they had, were positively ethereal through the whole movie. They looked fantastic. I thought there was chemistry between Rachel Zegler and the male lead. I thought they worked well. I thought all the songs were great, the new ones, the original ones. I thought they were really well written songs in terms of the lyrics, and I thought they had a lot of heart. So I really enjoyed them. Watching Zegler perform them was fantastic. I just think that the whole way that they went about it had a lot of heart. The whole movie had a lot of heart. I loved the ending. I thought the ending was very well done. You know, they had a moment where Snow White recalls knowing all of the guards who were conscripts. They didn't sign up because they liked the queen. They were drafted and made to do her bidding, and did it because they were afraid of her. But in the end, when Snow White showed them that she remembered them and took care in having gotten to know them in the before time, before the evil queen took over, it made them realize that they missed the way things were, and they end up turning against the queen, which is not what happens in the original as I understand it. But I thought that was very well done. And so, you know, I enjoyed it. I thought the whole thing was just as good as Wicked. In fact, I think I enjoyed it more than Wicked, which, you know, I liked. But I really enjoyed this movie. I will say that I wasn't 100% happy with the CGI of the dwarves. I think they looked a lot like the animated characters in terms of their shape and so forth, and of course their attire. But, you know, it's hard to take a cartoon character and do a photorealistic CGI character of that. I think they would have been better served if they had done something a la Roger Rabbit, you know, and made them cartoons in the real world, if they were going to do that. If not, have them be real actors, because they do look a little weird. It's a little disconcerting sometimes looking at them. Not all the time. I think Doc looked good. I think Dopey looked good. And Dopey's storyline, by the way, in this is really heartwarming too. But, you know, at other times they looked kind of garish. So I wasn't in love with what they did with the dwarves, but it's not a deal breaker. It doesn't make the movie bad. It's just one of those things that if they could have tweaked it, you know, they should have. But I guess they did what they did, and it is what it is. But I did find that to be the tiniest bit of a negative. But other than that, I really, really enjoyed this movie. And again, I say that with no regard to the original, which I have not seen, except for maybe when I was little and I don't recall it. So maybe compared to the original, it's not that good. I couldn't tell you. I can only tell you that as a standalone film that just came out in 2025, it's really, really enjoyable. Rachel Zegler is excellent. Gal Gadot does a good job. The look of the film is fantastic. The production design, the creature work that they did, you know, and the CGI animals. It's got a lot of heart. The musical numbers are good and well performed. And I just liked it a lot. I don't care what Rachel Zegler's politics are. I don't care if she's a feminist. I don't care if she's woke. It's got nothing to do with the contents of this film. None of that whatsoever bleeds over into her performance or into the story or into the magic of this film. None of it. So that's really all there is to say. It's a really good movie. Don't listen to anybody who tells you it's bad, because it isn't. And certainly don't listen to anyone who tells you that it's woke and that Rachel Zegler's casting was a bad idea, blah, blah, blah. You know, the usual suspects and their drivel. Don't listen to any of it. Just see it, and I think you will enjoy it, because I did, without any of that baggage in mind. I left that all outside the theater, just watched it as a standalone film, and it's just really, really enjoyable. That's really it. So I'm going to get out of here, but I'll be back with another video soon. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.